By 8 p.m., Gabriel returned home looking restless, his shirt still damp with sweat from the day's work. He dropped his bag on the chair and glanced at Ademide, who was setting the table for dinner. "My love," he asked in a shaky voice, "has Mama called you? She has not reached Lagos. I have been calling her number, but it is switched off. Since I was born, Mama's phone has never gone off, not even once." Ademide's hands froze for a moment, but she quickly forced a smile, hiding the storm in her heart. "Don't worry," she said softly. "You know Lagos traffic is always heavy. Maybe she hasn't settled yet. She will call when she gets home." Gabriel sat down, running his fingers through his hair. But Mama knows I don't sleep well until I hear her voice after a journey. Even when she travels to the village, she borrows someone's phone if her battery is low. Why is her number off this time?" Ademide avoided his gaze, placing a plate of food before him. "Please, eat. Worrying won't change anything." But Gabriel could not lift his spoon. He kept pressing his phone, dialing over and over. Each time the robotic voice repeated, "The number you are trying to call is switched off." His heart beat faster. He stood up and paced the sitting room, his eyes filled with fear. "No, something is wrong. Something is not right. Mama never does this." That night, Gabriel tossed and turned in bed. He turned to Ademide. "My spirit is not at rest. I see her face each time I close my eyes." Ademide, lying with her back to him, murmured, "Please, try to sleep. She will be fine." But her own eyes were wide open in the darkness. By morning, Gabriel could no longer hold back. He jumped out of bed before sunrise. "I cannot stay here," he said, hurriedly pulling on his clothes. "I must go to Lagos. I cannot wait for another call. Something has happened to Mama. I feel it in my bones." "My love, at least eat something, or take your bath," Ademide began, but he cut her short. "No, I cannot waste a minute. I must go now." He left the house without bathing, his face rough with worry, his shirt buttoned wrongly in his rush. When he reached Lagos, his first stop was the akara stand. The place that was always alive with smoke, laughter, and the smell of frying beans was now cold and empty. The wooden table was bare, the small iron pan nowhere in sight. His heart sunk. He ran to her house next. Silence. He knocked and called out, "Mama, Mama, it's me, Gabriel." No answer. The windows were shut, the door locked with the same padlock she had carried for years. Desperate, he turned to the neighbors. An elderly woman shook her head sadly. "My son, the last time we saw your mother was that morning she told us she was traveling to Port Harcourt. Since then, we have not seen her. We thought she had returned to you." Another man added, "She never opened her stand again after that day. We assumed she was resting." Gabriel's legs grew weak. He clutched his chest and fell to the ground, his voice breaking. "Mama, where are you? Please, don't leave me like this." His cries echoed through the street. Neighbors gathered, whispering among themselves, but no one had answers. By evening, Gabriel returned to Port Harcourt, his eyes red with tears, his clothes dusty from rolling on the ground in despair. He could not understand how his mother had vanished without a trace. Little did he know that the answer to his torment was right beside him in the same house. His own wife, Ademide, was behind the disappearance.
2 weeks passed slowly. and the house was filled with a heavy silence. Gabriel tried to throw himself into his business, but his heart was far away. Every knock on the door made him jump, hoping it was news from his mother. Every phone call gave him a start, but none carried her voice. Ademide, on the other hand, grew quieter. She pretended to comfort Gabriel, but in the midnight hours she became restless. More than once, Gabriel woke up to the sound of her muffled cries or sudden screams. "Why are you shouting in your sleep?" Gabriel asked one night, holding her shoulders as she trembled. Her eyes darted away. "It was only a dream," she whispered. But her body shivered like someone who had touched cold water. The nightmares became frequent. Sometimes she woke drenched in sweat, staring into the darkness as if unseen eyes were watching her. Gabriel tried to pray, but even his words felt weak. Then, one morning, while dressing, Ademide paused before the mirror. She touched her stomach and gasped. It was rounder than before. Her hands trembled. "Gabriel," she called. He rushed in, his face pale with worry. "Look," she said, pulling up her blouse, her stomach pushed forward, firm and swollen. Gabriel's eyes widened. This must be pregnancy." His voice carried both shock and joy. Ademide's lips parted slowly, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. "Pregnancy," she repeated, almost as if convincing herself. They hugged, both shedding tears. At last, a light seemed to shine after so many dark nights. Without wasting time, Gabriel took her to the nearest hospital. They waited anxiously as the doctor examined her, but when the doctor returned, his face was serious. "Madam, there is nothing in your womb." Ademide's smile froze. Gabriel leaned forward, confused. "Doctor, what are you saying? Can't you see her stomach? She is pregnant. Look at it." The doctor shook his head firmly. "Her womb is empty. Whatever is making her stomach swell is not a child." Gabriel's mouth dropped open. He felt like the ground beneath him was shifting. "But that is not possible. My wife's stomach was flat. Now it is growing. Are you saying she is not pregnant?" "I am sorry," the doctor replied. Unsatisfied, they went to another hospital the next day. Again, after tests and scans, the doctor shook his head. "There is nothing." Hospital after hospital gave the same answer. Yet, her stomach grew larger each week. Soon it stretched so much that Ademide could hardly bend down to wear her shoes. Climbing the stairs left her gasping for breath. Neighbors began to notice. Some congratulated her, thinking she was finally pregnant after years of waiting. But others whispered. "Why is she hiding her scan results?" one woman murmured. "Her stomach is growing too fast," another replied. In home, Gabriel struggled between hope and fear. At times, he clung to the idea that maybe the doctors were wrong. At other times, when he watched Ademide wince in pain, he felt a chill run down his spine. Ademide herself became restless. Sometimes she would rub her stomach as though something inside was moving, yet no life stirred within her womb. At night, she wept quietly, pressing her pillow against her face so Gabriel would not hear. But he did hear, and it broke him. The mystery of the swelling grew darker each day, and though they visited every hospital they could, none could explain what was happening. What was inside her? Why was her stomach growing without a child? Fear crept into their hearts like a shadow they could not chase away.
The moment Gabriel noticed that Ademide's stomach kept swelling in an unnatural way, his fear grew. He could no longer stay silent. One Sunday morning, he held her by the hand. "Ademide," he said firmly, his voice trembling, "we're going to see Pastor James today. I cannot continue like this. Something is wrong." Ademide tried to resist. No, Gabriel, I don't need prayers. I'm fine. It's just. But Gabriel pulled her up. Don't argue with me. This is beyond us. We must go. They arrived at the church compound. The pastor welcomed them in, but his countenance changed the moment his eyes rested on Ademide. Slowly, he shook his head, as though he had already seen everything. My children, Pastor James said quietly, this is not pregnancy. This is not the blessing you think it is. What I see is an attack, spiritual and deadly. Ademide's heart pounded. No, Pastor, it cannot be. It must be. The pastor raised his hand. Silence. There is a woman standing behind you, crying bitterly. She is not at rest. She follows you day and night. What did you do to her? The room fell silent. Gabriel's eyes widened. His heart raced. He turned slowly toward his wife. Ademide, Pastor is asking you a question. What did you do? At that moment, Ademide broke down. She shook her head, her hands trembling. Tears began to fall like rain. I didn't mean to, she whispered, her voice cracking. Mean to do what? Gabriel shouted, his voice already heavy with fear. Ademide fell to her knees, her sobs filling the pastor's office. It was your mother, Mama Patricia, she cried. That night when you asked me to take her to the park, she began to talk again about grandchildren, about prayers, about my womb. I lost control. Gabriel staggered backward, his breath caught in his throat. What are you saying? Ademide continued, her words tumbling out in anguish. I pushed her. She fell. She cried my name, but I didn't stop. I dragged her. I buried her at the back of the house. I just wanted peace, Gabriel. I just wanted her to stop reminding me of what I could not give. Jesus, Gabriel screamed, his hands on his head. He fell to the ground, rolling in pain. My own wife? My own blood? You killed Mama? Ademide reached for him, but he pulled away violently. Don't touch me! A woman that loved you like her own daughter, a woman that prayed for you daily. How could you? His tears flowed freely, his voice breaking. Gabriel beat his chest in agony. And I thought she got to Lagos safely. I thought her phone went off because of battery. I thought, oh God, he wailed like a wounded child. The pastor shook his head sorrowfully. Ademide, you have shed innocent blood. That is why the spirit of the dead torments you. The swelling in your stomach is not pregnancy. It is judgment. Unless you repent and confess openly, you will not escape the hand of God. Gabriel stood up, his face red with anger, his voice thundering. Ademide, from today, you are no longer my wife. For this I can never forgive you. Never. You have destroyed me. You have destroyed my home. You have destroyed my life. Ademide screamed, holding her head. Gabriel, please don't leave me. I was only afraid. I didn't want you to leave me because I could not give you children. But Gabriel's eyes were filled with fire. Children? So instead of waiting for God, you chose murder? The same God that gave Hannah a child? The same God that remembered Sarah? You could not wait? You killed my mother. He stormed out of the pastor's office, crying uncontrollably, leaving Ademide wailing on the ground, her tears soaking the floor. The pastor looked at her with deep sorrow. You must repent, my daughter. You must seek God's mercy, because right now, the blood of Patricia cries against you. And in that moment, the weight of her crime crushed her completely. She realized there would be no peace, no escape, unless the truth was fully revealed. When Gabriel heard Ademide's confession, his world shattered. His heart felt like it was torn in two. For days, he could not eat or sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his mother's face, smiling and calling him, my son. The weight of betrayal from the woman he loved was too much to bear. With trembling hands, Gabriel picked up his phone and called Ademide's family. His voice was heavy, filled with grief and anger. Come and carry your daughter, he said firmly. She has done the unthinkable. She is no longer my wife. Ademide's family arrived the next day. They wept and begged Gabriel to forgive her, but his heart was hardened. He pointed towards her and said, "Take her away from my house. She has spilled innocent blood. She has killed my joy." As they let her out, Ademide looked broken, her eyes hollow, her body trembling. She tried to speak, but Gabriel turned his face away. He could not bear to hear her voice again. That night, Gabriel went to the backyard. The moonlight fell gently on the ground where his mother's body had been secretly buried. He knelt on the cold soil, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Mama," he sobbed, "forgive me for not being there to protect you. Forgive me for leaving you alone with her. I should have known. I should have known." The sound of his cries echoed in the night. Neighbors passing by heard, but none could comfort him. The pain was too deep, the wound too fresh. 2 weeks later, strange news spread. Ademide had fallen terribly ill. Her stomach grew larger and larger until it looked as though it would tear. She screamed day and night. Doctors tried everything, but no cure was found. Her family took her from one hospital to another, but the condition only worsened. One fateful morning, her stomach burst mysteriously, and she died in great agony. People whispered that it was the hand of God, a punishment for what she had done. Others said the ghost of Patricia had taken her revenge. Whatever the cause, her end was terrible, and her name became a warning in the community. When Gabriel heard of her death, he was silent. He felt no joy, no anger, only emptiness. With the help of elders, he exhumed his mother's body and gave her a proper burial. The funeral was filled with wailing. Women cried, men shook their heads, and the pastor prayed for God's comfort. Gabriel stood by the grave, watching the soil cover his mother's coffin. Tears poured freely as he whispered, "Rest now, Mama. Rest in peace. I will never forget you." For many days after, Gabriel wept alone. His shop was closed, his heart broken. People came to console him, but the pain remained. The once cheerful young man became quiet, withdrawn, and full of sorrow. The story of Patricia and Ademide spread far and wide. It became a lesson to many. Moral lesson: love those who love you. Never hurt the people who care for you, for one day their absence will bring you pain you cannot bear. The truth is that love is one of the purest gifts that God places in our lives. A mother's love, a father's advice, a friend's support, or a partner's care. These are treasures that no amount of money can buy. But sometimes people take these gifts for granted. They quarrel, they ignore, or even betray the very ones who are praying for them and wishing them well. But life has a way of teaching painful lessons. When those people are gone, no cry can bring them back. No regret can erase the past. You will find yourself wishing for just one more chance to say, "I love you," to say, "thank you," or even to say, "I am sorry." That is why you must cherish every moment now.